landscape around my house where I live, and I'm in my home study. Jim and I are so glad to be able to join on day one, and we are going to definitely work to hope to reconnect to hear the outcomes of the workshop. I have two main things to say. The first thing is, of course, about the chapters that each of the teams has worked so hard on and is working so hard on, and is the main focus of the workshop in Arusha. Daniel, Hillel, and I thank you each and every one, and for each team for all the great work. And we look forward to getting the next iteration that is going to build on all the great discussions and sessions that you're having together and the work that you're doing at this Finish Line workshop. So that's the first thing, is about thank you for the chapters. We look forward to getting the next iteration, and we will continue to work with you through the coming months to get them to the highest possible publication level. And we are still on track, thanks to your very timely submissions of the manuscripts, but we have to continue with that. We are on track for having the volume published next fall. By the way, I also want to give a welcome to any stakeholders who are there, or to the stakeholders who are coming. That's an important part. Stakeholder participation is such an important part of our AgMIP regional workshops and all our workshops. And so if the stakeholders are there now, or if they are coming, please convey our Jim and my welcome to them. And here's my final thought for the, I know your afternoon, our morning here on the East Coast of the United States, which is that in this workshop, as we go, as you continue this week together, to learn from each other. We are all experts together now in regional integrated assessment, because we created the methodologies together. And I encourage you, and I know Jim does too, to interact with each other's teams, so that when you see a presentation by another team, ask them questions. What's up with that result? How did you do that? So that it's really a workshop, and in a networked way, which is what AgMIP really is. It's AgMIP, as Jim always says, is a community of scientists. So we'll be checking in, of course, with all the leaders, on a near daily basis, and we hope to hear that the discussions are very lively. So whenever another group is giving a presentation, could you please, each group, think of questions and be sure to jump in with questions, discussions, so that it's truly a workshop with interactions among all of the teams. Final thought on that: it's so exciting to have the two regions of the AgMIP region of DFID project, Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, together. That's with about 150 people, with all the teams together. It's such a very, very special occasion. So with that, we wish you a great workshop, a great week to come. I know you've gotten started already, and we look forward to interacting and to hearing the results, as Jim said, at the end of the week.
All right, thank you, Cynthia. I'm Jim, thank you. So we're going to try to get the webcam back up so you can see everybody here. However, I think you're saying we have to restart the browser. Was that going to kick them off?
No, they can. Close the video and we'll reopen the video.
So will we lose Jim and Cynthia?
No, they'll be
okay. So hold on 1 minute. We're going to get the webcam back. While that is restarting.
Looks like we're alone now.
But the technology really is getting going. It's great. It's
it's great to be able to do that.
It's tremendously exciting, don't you think? It's really
We'll have
starting
to-
to work.
Yeah, we'll have
You know,
to
when
thank, Delete and,
Yes, I'll send a chat right now.
you know, one thing, Cynthia, I've never used the video on this computer, and when I start it, it just shows a blank screen, so I'm gonna work on that, hopefully have it fixed by Tuesday.
That's a yeah.
All right, you're back, guys. So can you see John now?
I can.
Yes, and everybody
Hi,
around the
John.
room. So that's great. Cynthia and Jim, would you rather see the report back person, which is about to be me, or would you like to see the room? You've seen me before. Okay. What did she say?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make, let's do the room. How about you can just be dynamic cameraman, and unless you get seasick on the other end. So I'm gonna report back the climate breakout. We had a good room full of people, and from each team, I believe, was represented. And we had a couple topics of conversation. We introduced a new methodology, which we've invited, or we're asking each of the teams to do, which is to calculate a basic statistical significance test of whether the future climate scenarios are significantly different than the type of years you may have found in the baseline historical period. So we want to show that the future period scenarios really are different than the historical period. And for temperature, we expect that will be significant for almost every location. For rainfall, that might not be as common. The power just went down again, so that probably is the webcam one more time. So maybe you'll just have to hear us. So we're going to have some significance tests to do. Yeah, we're just going to leave the webcam off. They got to pan the room once. Let's see, the other thing we talked about was analyzing trends in the historical period. To, for example, identify locations where the historical trend is towards drying conditions, which might contradict GCM trends towards wetter conditions. That would be something that would be very important to be able to discuss with the stakeholders, to be upfront and honest about the differences between the GCM projections and the current trends. We also had a brainstorming session on all the many different types of climate analysis that we saw this morning. And we're sharing ideas of what one group did well, maybe the other groups would want to follow along. And then we also had a session where people brought up other methodological ideas and reported some technical problems that we hope to resolve during this week. So I think that's about all. Is there anything that I forgot to mention among the climate info? All right, so in the interest of time, let's keep moving. John's going to hop up.
Can I make?
Okay, great.
Can I make a comment?
Cynthia and Jim, hello. We miss you. Sure.
Hello,
Yes.
Go ahead.
hello, John.
Howdy. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay, just on the climate part, and this is a comment for the whole group. Just as when Alice was, and what the discussion was about was in part about we need to have some things that we're doing consistently all the same. And one thing that's I think very, very important to come out of coming together in this workshop is a sense of the relative climate changes across the region. So I think on one of the days, Shari's going to put up these hand-drawn posters and with maps of the regions, so we can put up the mean temperature changes, if you pick 2050s or 2080s, because we want to start getting a sense of the relative differences that the different regions are facing in terms of the climate challenges. So that's my comment.
Okay, very good. And I think some of the discussion we had in the economics group this afternoon follows and complements that. We talked about some methodological issues that I won't digress on, having to do with how we incorporate trends and some of those matters. We talked about the fact that we have a new version of the TOA model that will make it easier for people to run their simulations, so that's good. And we'll be sharing that with teams this week. We talked a bit more about how the different teams will be incorporating livestock into their analyses. The teams, apart from the CLIP project, but the other teams that are not explicitly modeling livestock. And then to kind of follow on your comment, Cynthia, we talked about the material that will be in the handbook chapters and how we're going to synthesize and what material we'll present. And I think one of the key questions actually we wanted to ask you while we have you here with us is, maybe put it this way, what is the key message? What is the key, kind of theme we want to have for these chapters? I am thinking of it as, and we were talking about having a summary table at the end of the chapters that summarizes results that are common to all the different regions. And question is our main point of the chapters for this summary message to be what is the that region's sort of assessment, overall assessment of impacts of climate and importance of adaptation in their region? Or is it more methodological, here's differences between this climate, that climate, difference between this crop model and that crop model, that sort of thing?
Yes, great question. And from having spent a lot of time with each one of the chapters and then seeing all of the chapters as a group, the goal of the chapter is to go all the way through to get to the summary table that John has been, that John just was describing and was discussed, I think, in the econ breakout. So while we certainly want to be showing what the methods were throughout, but we want to be, but it's less on some of the details of the methodology, fine differences, but it's really being able then to go all the way to create the summary table of what were the major impacts, what did we learn about climate change and its impacts for that one region that is selected to be described in the chapter. Because we do want to then take that summary and then even go one step further, which is then, and it's a springboard to the next part of we hope the DFID extension, which we are working to set up, is to then be sure that we are able to communicate that the major messages from that regional assessment about climate change and agriculture from the new methods to decision makers in the region. So John, does that answer the question?
Okay, great. That was our sense as well. So, yeah, that does, and that was our sense. We just wanted to really make sure we were on the right track. So, great. Okay, that's all we have to report for the economics breakout. And onwards to talks.
We structured our breakout around sort of 6 areas. First, we talked about the impression of the crop modelling results that people had from what they'd seen in the morning. As Ken and I reflected back some things that we saw. one of which was we're a little bit surprised at some of the differences between the APSIM and DISAP predictions for some of the crops, and how the differences were varied from across regions for the same crop. And we strongly encourage the group to sort of dig down and understand what's causing differences or similarities between the models, so that, you know, we're confident that that is the emergent behaviour of the agro-ecosystem climate management that we're talking about. We then went on in a similar vein to sort of discuss a bit about what the different groups are doing to understand the results that they're getting out of the models. Said we're impressed with Sri Lankan group's use of carbon dioxide, temperature, water, sensitivity analysis to give a bit of indications of what's happening there. We've got adaptations. We've got groups that are very close together with similar crops, but, you know, taking slightly different approach to adaptation. Nothing wrong with that, but it's good to think about potential things that you can pick up from each other. Then we got into the nitty-gritty of what things teams need to do to get their work finished, and the problems that teams are experiencing. There are a couple of reasonably widespread technical problems coming out to do with water stress in modelling rice crops and maize crops. And then the groups broke up to discuss their paths forward, and within that, while it was based around regional teams, some people got together to talk about rice and others about maize, and I suspect those groups will probably be wanting to look for time to reform to keep those discussions going over the next few days. A couple of things that came out. We said, you know, don't forget the magic parameter R that we feed to the TIA model, and that the crop modelling needs to be consistent from the model calibration through to the modelling of the baseline and the modelling of climate change and the values of R that's produced. So to make sure that we're not getting a positive response in one part of the modelling but a negative response in the other. Encourage the teams to sort of share their chapters and reports with each other, a bit of peer review, you know, look over each other's work, sort of steal the bits that are good and maybe comment on the bits that can be improved. Discussed a bit about some of the details of what can go into what's appropriate to go into section 3 of the reports versus the chapter, some of the more detailed analysis there. And from that, Cynthia, I suppose the question for you was, because the different reports are going to have more detail, is it possible to reference those in the book chapters for the groups? So I'll leave you to work out whether you want to answer that or not now. But people in the crop group, any other comments you'd like to make, or things you think I didn't cover? Well, Cynthia, you had a comment on whether we can reference the different reports.
Yes, I do. For two things. First of all, substantive, and then the second, nuts and bolts. I think we have such a great opportunity across these 8 chapters to really work on understanding ABSIM and DISAT and the comparison of the two, which is so much at the heart of the crop modeling part of these projects. So the question that I'm posing back to you, which Peter, I think you and the crop modeling team across all the regional teams have been beginning to look at, is, are there systematic results of ABSIM results compared to DISAT results across the regions? We started pulling those together to see on the calibrations, on the validations, how is ABSIM doing, how is DISAT doing, not in any way in terms of a bake-off of which model is better, but just so that we can really understand and interpret the results in their distributional, the distribution of results across the two models more fully. So that's why I think if we always have APSIM on the left compared to this set on the right, and then how do they respond to the same climate forcings, and what are we learning if indeed those models are reacting in similar ways, or if not? I mean, that's also quite an interesting result if there isn't coherence. So that's the first challenge that I put to and I know Jim would be very interested in this as well. So that's a challenge that we put to the crop modelers that are in the room at the workshop. Now, on the nuts and bolts question that you asked, yes, you see, there's so much that work has been done. A lot of work in some, especially in many of the regions, that are not going to be captured in the chapter, which is focusing on one place or the set of places where the team has really focused their work. But there's been other great analysis that is going to be summarized in the final report. And I know that Carolyn and the AgMIP leaders who are there are going to, and maybe already have, provided guidance for all of the teams about, here's the written chapter on focusing on the place, or perhaps places, depending on how it was formed, for the most completely realized regional integrated assessment. But work that was done other places or other systems is going to be in the final report. So because those will be on the web, it will be absolutely fine to cite that it's like the supplementary material for the chapter. If it's getting too detailed, down in the weeds, put it in your final report. And Carolyn and Shari will make sure, right, that those final reports with that extra material will be the section for the supplementary material for the chapters. Carolyn and Shari, does that sound okay? Does that sound right?
Contact.
Could I make a comment? Can you hear me?
Yes, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to second what Cynthia said. I mean, trying to interpret the differences there as much as possible is important. And also, remember that you're working with economists in order to make use of these APSIM and DSAT results. And I don't know of any case in the past where the economic models at a regional scale, the TOA, for example, has used more than one crop model. So I think the use of the two models by the economists needs to be discussed by the economics team with the crop modeling team at some point. So I would encourage you to do that. The other thing I wanted to point out, and I see Alex in the corner of the screen there, he's developed something that I reviewed yesterday about the capacity building advances during the workshop, during this DIPIT project. And it strikes me that while you're together there, and Alex, I don't know if you had discussed this with him or not, but there are a number of things in the crop modeling and the economics that would be good while you're together to try to document. Alex, I sent you quite a few edits on your document yesterday. Many of them are on the crop modeling section. So anyway, I would just encourage you to work together with the economists, to see the linkages, and to identify what it is that we're doing different, what's new about what we're doing that we can claim in our DIPIT report. So, thank you.
Good comment, Jim. Okay.
All right. So in that sense, I think those are all the report backs. At this time, was there a leadership report back, Carolyn? Or are we ready to adjourn? So I'm going to invite Carolyn to come up and say something about the reception. Jim and Cynthia, I think we can say goodbye. Have a great day, and we'll keep you informed as the workshop continues.
So before we
Thank
say
you.
goodbye to
So-
Jim and Cynthia, the answer is yes.
Thank you, Alex. This is great.
Yes, it's great. I just want to say it's just so.
But I would also like to invite you to...
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
To see everyone, the whole room. It's just fantastic. Thank you. Bye.
Go to meeting.